Hey guys, this is Kit coming to you from the editing room, and I just want to give a quick shout outs to our sponsors of this episode, Whisker Seeker Tackle here in Grimes, Iowa, and Firetrucker Brewery out of Ankeny, Iowa. Yeah, they're just a couple of local companies supporting two local guys. So if you want some of the highest rated catfishing gear out there, head on over to whiskerseeker.com. And I almost forgot that Whisker Seeker Tackle is doing their Catfish Adventure Pack giveaway, which is $1,200 worth of catfishing stuff. So make sure you subscribe to their newsletter, and you get more entries by sharing, referring a friend, or following their Facebook page. Winners are going to be announced first week of June. And last but not least, if you're in the Ankeny, Iowa area, stop by Firetrucker Brewery. Let them know that you listen to Bearfish Fanatics, and they'll give you $1 off your beer. Other than that, guys, hope you guys enjoy the episode.
You got it.
It was the cord, huh, guys?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was cord.
So what, 2 bad cords?
Two bad cords, and my wife would say, "Dude, you're cheap. Throw that shit away. Quit salvaging it." Because I've been trying to salvage it, gentlemen. I'm not gonna lie. Those damn 2 cords, just get rid of it.
2 bad cords and a walleye in a cedar tree.
Something like that. Something like that. All right, everybody, welcome back to Beerfish Fanatics. This is Grandy with Mop Pop Sports and Mop Pop Fishing, and we got
Kit with the Fishing Kit YouTube channel.
And today we are back on site at our newest sponsor of the BFF podcast, everybody. It is Firetrucker. So everybody, just to give you guys a heads up, huge shout out to Firetrucker Brewing Company to actually partner with us. Truly appreciate that, and we wouldn't want to partner with anybody else because, local is the best, right? Support local.
Yeah, speaking of local, what about, that Whisker Seeker? What's going on there?
Yeah, there you guys go. They have joined on board to revamp another year with Beerfish Fanatics.
Yeah,
So
woo, 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 woo.
You guys got it going on.
we're trying a little bit. I mean, somebody's got to, worry about the little guys. I think we're considered like the little guys, I guess. So
You are the little guys.
there you go.
Yeah, especially compared to Jeff.
There we go.
Yeah.
So it goes right into it. So everybody, if you guys hear that voice and it sounds familiar, if you guys heard him before, we have Mr. Jeff Kopaska from the Iowa DNR joining us. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure. This is a lot of fun. I've missed these times together. It's been a little while, but glad to be back in the saddle.
There you
Yep.
go.
Welcome back.
Cheers, cheers, cheers. And he's drinking H2O today.
Yes, water for me.
Yep, like
There
the
you go.
true professional that he is.
Yep.
I'm drinking, like you guys said, you guys got to try the brown ale. It's one of the better brown ales in Iowa that I've ever had, actually.
Is that the Burnout Brown?
Yes.
That is outstanding. Now, they've got another brown on tap here also, I see. So the Burnout Brown has some caramel and toffee flavors, but the modern something is like a salted caramel smooth. Have you tried that one yet?
I don't think I have.
I'm going to look forward to trying that at some point in time here in the future.
The other beer that they had here is really, obviously good is the Pumper Truck.
Oh, yeah.
It's a porter. So
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a porter in during the winter time. I think my wife and I, because we were really into the dark beers during winter. Winter
My
comes.
wife too. Yep.
There you go.
And me. I mean, I like a lot of different kinds of beers. So
Same here. What do you got over there, guy?
I have the Whippa Snappa. So I think it's a West Coast IPA. So
it's not very hazy. So yeah, West Coast versus New England hazy IPA.
man,
Yeah.
There you go.
This guy knows his beer.
Hello, man. He knows a few things here and there.
I've been around the block once or twice.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth. I don't. If you're not into IPAs, I don't know if it's the beer for you. But I like IPAs. I normally get the Iowa IPA, which is an American IPA here.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Jeff, like, I'm going to try something different. And then I just get another IPA.
There you go, man. But also, just the listeners, just to kind of give you guys a heads up, I think we're going to release this episode right before we are going to be at the Iowa Beer Craft Festival. So
Yes.
just to give everybody a heads up, if you guys are listening to this, it is probably the weekend right after this episode is released. So we will be there. It's going to be downtown at Waterworks Park, Des Moines, Iowa.
Nice.
So go check it out, guys. I think tickets are still available. And I believe it's from noon till 4 p.m. on Saturday, June 3rd. Fishing Kit, myself will be there. Stop by the booth. We'll have stickers, some BFF stickers, all kinds of other stickers. I don't know what else. And then you guys can come and drink with us.
Yeah. And then we'll probably be recording randomly with maybe Jeff if he stops by.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. So you can get, hopefully Jeff can come by. And then we have a few other guests that are online. So make sure you guys tune in. And you'll get a chance to see some of our guests if you guys swing by there on that Saturday, June 3rd. So make sure you guys do that.
Like a guy that hands out river certifications or something.
There's
something like that.
I've been talking to him a little bit. There's a possibility that
very nice,
a little hint, and then you never know. We'll see who's going to show up there on that Saturday. So like I said, make sure you guys swing by the booth, the Iowa Craft Beer Festival, June 3rd from noon till 4 p.m. I think tickets are available, and it's I believe it's like unlimited drinks there, by the way, guys. So if you buy the ticket, you go in, I think it's like $40-$50, but it's unlimited drinks for 4 or 5 hours. And then you get to taste every beer. Like, they just pour into your cup. I think that's what we did a couple years ago.
Yeah, you just have like a little cup.
4 ounce or something like that. Yeah. So you get to try all kinds of beers. And if, people
sounds like you guys are going to have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not so sure that I can do this and be who I am. But, yeah.
It'll be fun. So make sure you guys check that out. And then today we wanted to get Jeff on because we haven't had Jeff on it's been since winter. I remember that.
Yeah.
The last time we had it was winter because we were out in the freaking cold when we were downtown.
Yep.
I remember that at
East Village.
East Village, yeah.
Yeah, we were in the East Village. We were at 1717 before they closed down. Or
Yeah.
was it 17? Was it
17?
Before they closed down. But yeah, we were there and then went to, it was a KXNO birthday bash.
That's right. We went there.
That's right.
So, been a while since we had the Iowa DNR back on. I mean, what have you been up to? What has the Iowa DNR been up to?
We have been really hard at work. So since we're rolling back the time a little bit, the walleye collection that dominates what we do in the month of April, and that's really the first big thing that we have going on. This was the best that we have ever done with our walleye collections. So obviously spring progresses south to north. So the first teams that go out are at Rathbun.
Okay.
And they usually end up working somewhere around 9 to 12 days in a row at Rathbun, just, bringing the fish in. But, we had that stretch in early April where it got warm, really warm, like 3 80-degree days in a row. So, Rathbun started on either a Friday or I think maybe it was a Thursday. And Storm Lake started maybe the next day. And those two teams went, I think, 6 nights. And I was at Clear Lake this year. We started on Sunday night. It was Easter Sunday. So we netted Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. And by the time we had worked for 3 nights and they had worked for 6 nights, we had collected all of the fish that we needed and had everything that we needed for females and eggs and everything else that the crews at Spirit Lake and Okoboji never went out. Because we filled the Rathbun hatchery and we filled the Spirit Lake hatchery basically in less than a week. And we've never netted for only 3 days at Clear Lake. We had over 1,000 fish in 3 days. It was just phenomenal. The populations of fish in Rathbun, in Storm Lake, in Clear Lake are just outstanding. And the weather really, really cooperated with us. So the combination of having outstanding walleye populations and really amenable weather to the work that we were doing allowed us to complete our work in record time. So just phenomenal.
So you
absolutely
guys
phenomenal.
harvest a lot of walleye. So does that mean the walleye fishermen in Iowa are not doing very well, or?
Well, I mean that allows us to transition to the next thing, which is the Iowa Walleye Challenge.
There we go.
So let's talk about that a little bit. We are sitting here the 22nd of May today.
23rd.
23rd.
Yep, 23rd.
So the Iowa Walleye Challenge has been going since the 1st of May, and we have more anglers participating this year than we had during the 2-month run of the Walleye Challenge in 2022. We have more anglers reporting catches than we had the whole time in 2022. We I think had like 41 different water bodies where anglers caught walleyes in 2022, and we're at over 50 already this year. In 2022, over the 9 weeks, the 2 months, we had just over 2,000 fish caught, and we're at over 1,200 fish caught in the first 3 weeks of this competition in 2023. So things are going really, really well. Iowa anglers are catching fish. I think for me, I wish that we had a few more anglers participating. That's the challenge that I see in front of me is trying to figure out how we get more anglers to participate. But the ones that are doing it are doing really well.
So right now, just so people who are listening to this, when does this end? Because some people are like, oh, it's too late. It already started. Is that the case? Or, if I'm like, oh, shit, I just heard about this right now. What do I do?
There's another 5 weeks. This goes through the end of June. And let's just throw some examples out there. There's probably, I think we have $800 in prizes, and it's all cash for walleyes caught at Red Rock. Nobody's reported a fish caught at Red Rock yet.
Wow.
What?
Okay.
No walleyes at Red Rock?
No walleyes at Red Rock.
That's on the lake, or does that include below the spillway?
We will include below the spillway. I don't believe that we've had any walleyes reported from the Des Moines River between Saylorville and Red Rock. I don't believe we've had any walleyes reported from Easter Lake yet. Okay, and there are localized prizes to win for catching walleyes. So you may not be, if you join today, you may not be in the running to catch the most walleyes for the whole competition, but you could still catch the most walleyes in a week. There's certainly a ton of prizes available for catching the biggest and the most walleyes at a variety of different places. I don't know how widespread this is, but we've only had a few walleyes reported down in the Cruston area so far. Only a few walleyes over at Lake Manawa and Council Bluffs. Nobody's caught any at Browns Lake and Sioux City yet. Nobody's caught any at Lost Grove Lake and outside of Davenport yet. There are tons and tons of local prizes still to be won. We just need people to sign up and report their catches.
So
Right, you can't win if you don't play.
That's right.
And how much does it cost to register if you're looking to play or to fish in this tournament?
2 shad wraps.
Yeah.
That's about right. Yeah, I think you're right.
It's $25.
Yeah.
It's $25.
And I think the biggest thing, so I wanted to ask you, Jeff, this because those locations, I'm going to tell you this right now, it's hard for me to believe that nobody's caught some,
Right.
walleyes there that in the past month, okay?
Yep.
What if they I don't want to give them my hot spot. I don't want them to know that I'm freaking catching walleyes here. Hello, this is my shit, man. I don't want nobody to come here. So what would, I guess you can constitute that person to, you know what? I'm not going to give up my hot spot. Or what?
So here's the deal. Number one, I don't know where you caught the fish. Okay? The one person that knows exactly where fish are caught, besides the angler who reports the fish, because it's on your phone, and for us to verify it, you have to use the app on your phone, and it looks to see that you're on the water. Because let's be honest, we had a couple of people report the no catch outings by turning their phone on and off in their backyard. Okay, so
Good try, buddy.
Right, and okay, fine, whatever. You want to do that, that's fine. But the phone tells you where you're at. So if you're doing that in your backyard, the other guy, not me, I don't see any of that data. He's been telling me, okay, we had to not allow this as one of the potentials for a no catch week because it was turned on and off in their backyard. But I never see where the fish are caught, right? The only guy that sees that lives 9 hours north of Vancouver in British Columbia. And he's not coming here to fish your spot. Okay? That's first and foremost. Second, I can see some of the data on the back end. I can look at a water body and see how many catches there were at that water body. So I know, like in the first 2 weeks of May, only one angler fished down at Creston. He didn't fish at Green Valley. He didn't fish at 12 Mile. He only fished at 3 Mile. And he caught 3 fish. Okay, and that is the person that won the $25 gift card to Dad's Bait Shop in Afton for the most walleyes caught in the Creston area in the first 2 weeks of May. Now, a whole bunch of walleyes are getting caught down there right now, right? It's just that those folks aren't signed up for the event. But I don't know who that person was, and I only know that they fished 3 Mile. And I am the only one that even knows that. No, you couldn't get on the website and see that. You can see who's caught the most fish. So Shane Hupp has caught the most fish.
Okay.
And you can see who's caught the biggest fish. And I forget the fellow's name, but I think it's a 28.5-inch walleye is the biggest walleye caught so far.
Not bad.
Okay, that's a nice fish.
Well,
that could win the whole thing. I think it was a 27 and some that won it last year.
Yeah.
So, that's a nice fish. That's if you want to win, there's your target. You can go after that. But we've also got tons of local prizes yet for the biggest fish. The biggest fish at Big Creek is still up for grabs. The biggest fish in the Des Moines River. The biggest fish in Easter Lake, in Red Rock, in Saylorville, etc. There's prizes for all of those places. So I can't do more than say this is a really good thing to be involved in. I can't do more than say we're not going to know your spot. And nobody's going to know until the end of the competition where you were even fishing. Like, okay, at, July 4th or July 5th, whatever, we're going to say, Fishing Kit, you won for catching the biggest walleye out of the Des Moines River. Great job. Woo. Okay? but nobody is going to know anything about that until the end of the competition. So we're not going to be giving up any secrets. Like the largest walleye caught so far, I have no idea where that fish was caught. The most walleyes caught so far, I have no idea where those fish are being caught, except for the fact that I know that about 350 walleyes have been caught out of Big Creek already. So I'm going to say probably some of those are getting caught out of Big Creek, but that's not a big, that's not a big surprise because the population in Big Creek is phenomenal.
Yeah.
We're also seeing lots of fish caught out of Blackhawk Lake, which, cool. And not as many out of Clear Lake this year. And I think that's because some of the folks that participated last year maybe aren't this year. I'm not sure. But, a lot of fish being caught out of Rathbun. I think there's over 150 fish being caught, which, hey, the walleye bite in Rathbun is on fire right now.
Really?
That's a great place to go fishing right now.
Yeah, I started following this guy down there, and I don't know, a big reservoir like that for me as an angler, it's kind of intimidating.
Yep.
But I've been seeing pictures. They've been catching walleyes down there.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's a lot different compared to Red Rock. I can see why there hasn't been a fish reported for Red Rock yet.
The walleyes there are kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
From what I've
at
been
Red
told.
Rock or at
Red Rock.
Rathbun? Okay.
Rathbun is, Rathbun is half the size of Red Rock, and Rathbun has historically been a really productive walleye fishery for decades. And it's really come back. 10 years ago, it wasn't as good as it is now. It's really good right now. A couple of drier years, less outflow from the lake, so less walleyes leaving the lake. That really improves what you have in the system. Okay. So Rathbun's really, really good right now.
Yeah, and Mark from that area, he told us summertime is really good for walleyes.
Oh, June is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're only in May right now. June is probably the best month for fishing walleyes at Rathbun.
Yeah, it sounds so counterintuitive, but it surprised me when he told me that.
Oh, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
We might have to make a trip down south a little bit.
I would. I certainly would.
Next month,
Yep.
We might. Everybody listening to this is going to be going down there now. They're like, what? Really?
Well, you're not going to get crowded out down there. That's a big lake.
Yeah, it is a big lake. And don't worry, Jeff, we're not going to bleep out every lake you say this time.
Yeah, we'll keep in most of the lakes this time. That's funny. Oh, man. So I'm wondering if the people aren't reporting some of the stuff they catch. because they're wondering, can we keep certain ones or not, or how
Yep.
is that a catch and release program? I'm just wondering.
So the software is built off of the premise of a catch photo release tournament.
Okay.
However, so we don't require that. So if you legally catch a fish, you can legally keep those fish in your bag, right? So if you choose to possess the fish, we're not going to say, oh, well, you're part of this tournament. It's a catch photo release tournament. So you caught the fish, you took a photo of the fish. We're not going to require the release of that fish because it's a virtual distributed thing, and if people want to catch some of the fish in the tournament, that is perfectly legal. Okay, so you're allowed to keep your possession limit of fish during this event, right? And that's because that's part of catching walleyes. That's one of the things that I've been trying to sell to the bass tournament guys, because there's bass tournaments all over the place, at Icaria, at 3 Mile, at 12 Mile, at Little River. All these places have a lot of bass tournaments every weekend. And I know they're catching walleyes, it's incidental catch, but I'm like, hey, you can double dip on your bass tournament. You can be part of this event and get credit for your walleyes, and you might win something.
Yeah.
And even if they don't catch a walleye, because they're still fishing,
right?
They can technically win I didn't catch shit.
Right. And the other part of this is, so the software that we're using, the Angler's Atlas My Catch software, they're also doing a nationwide, a continent-wide thing, looking at blotchy bass in fish, in largemouth and smallmouth bass. And that's just a viral infection. And it's a thing that we're trying to learn more about. So the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the U.S. Geological Survey are partnering with Angler's Atlas and My Catch to do this blotchy bass thing, and Bass Pro Shops is part of it. So they're giving away $15,000 in prizes for you to take pictures of the bass that you catch and just report those. And it's a random drawing. You don't win based on whatever, but if you've got that app on your phone, you take a picture of bass, you can win for any photos that you take of your bass during the course of the whole year. Plus, you can win our Iowa Walleye Challenge prizes. And all you don't have to do anything different. The app's on your phone. Take a picture of a bass. Take a picture of a walleye. Doesn't matter. Goes into the system, and they sort it out. Okay, this is a walleye or a sauger. You're in the Walleye Challenge. Oh, this is a bass. You're in the blotchy bass. Huh. Same software, same thing. Angler doesn't do anything other than take a picture on a measuring board.
Yeah, so one of the reservations a lot of people, or at least a few people that I knew, is like, oh, well, I keep my walleyes, so I can't do this tournament. So that clears
right there.
Clears the air about that.
Absolutely. If you legally catch the fish, you can legally keep the fish. There's no requirement in that regard. And so I was talking to one of the bass tournament guys, because every week I pull the data about what are all the tournaments going on in the state of Iowa that week, and I send an email to those tournament sponsors, and I'm like, hey, blotchy bass thing, please inform your anglers. You're at a lake where there's some local prizes for the walleyes, please inform your anglers, etc. One of those guys called me and he said, yeah, I was trying to talk to this fella fishing at the lake where I was hosting this tournament, because he doesn't fish the tournament. He just, stays at the boat ramp. And that old codger, he was like, I'm not gonna, report. They don't get to know where my hot spot is. And if they want to know about the walleyes, they need to get their butts out here and do the sampling. And I'm just like, well, here's the deal. We don't have more people. We don't have more time. We can't get this done. So we are trying to do this in partnership with our anglers, because it's the only way we're going to get this data. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to do things really efficiently to improve our walleye fisheries around the state. That's why we're trying to do this, because we don't have time to do more sampling. We do our broodstock stuff in the spring. We could sample the walleye populations by setting gill nets in the summer, but that kills all the fish. And our public doesn't want to see us killing all those fish. So we simply do not do that sampling because it is not acceptable. So the only other time that we can get to those fish is doing fall electroshocking. And the first priority we have in the fall is to go out and to shock at our broodstock lakes and look at how did the fry stocking work. Where do we need to prioritize to put our advanced fingerlings to make sure that we have fish for our future broodstock, okay? We don't have, by the time we get done with those assessments, we really don't have much time to go and look at these other 80 to 100 systems that we stock that we don't know much about. Those are the systems we're trying to learn more about. We want to know about Blackhawk, Little River, 3 Mile, 12 Mile, McBride, Pleasant Creek, Lost Grove, all these different places where we invest money and stock walleyes, but we're busy at Clear Lake, we're busy at Okoboji, we're busy at Rathbun, we're busy at Big Creek, we're busy at these other systems. We don't have time to go sample these ones that are kind of bonus walleye fisheries for our anglers, so we're not going to figure that out because those are things we're doing to try and provide opportunities for the anglers, but we really don't have the opportunity to do much assessment.
So if you're a fisherman for walleye, if you're thinking like, how does this help them? That's what they're probably thinking.
Yep.
We live in a world that everybody's a little bit selfish. They're kind of thinking like, so if I go and I register for this and I go and fish, how the hell is this information going to help me as a walleye fisherman in, let's just say, like you just said, Red Rock? How is that going to help me?
Okay, so here's the deal. We have 80,000 advanced fingerling walleyes in our hatchery at Rathbun, and that's just a round number. It's something in that vicinity. I don't remember exactly what it is. Okay, so we go out. Number one, we go out and we look at our fall or our spring fry stocking at Clear Lake, and we go out and we shock in the fall. And we look to see how did that fry stocking do. And if we see that those fry were able to survive and grow, and we have a whole bunch of 6 to 8 inch walleyes in the fall, then we may not necessarily need to put those advanced fingerling fish in Clear Lake. They're allocated to Clear Lake, but if we don't need them there and we've grown them and spent the time and the money on them, and they're not really, if we put them in Clear Lake, they're not really gonna, if there's plenty of fish in there of that size, putting more fish of that size in there is not gonna help the system, right? And so we've got that situation in Clear Lake. We've got that at Spirit Lake, Okoboji, Storm Lake, Rathbun. Okay, we have all these fish allocated to those systems. What are we going to do if they don't need those advanced fingerlings? Well, the best thing for us to do is to have information about, okay, what do the walleye populations look like at these other lakes? Where could we reallocate those fish to improve the walleye fishery somewhere else? Okay, so the angler reported data in 2022 matched up really well with our fall electrofishing data. So we could see that there were, with my hands, I'm going to create this little histogram. So there were X number of fish in the 10 to 11 inch range at Big Creek, and then this number from 11 to 12, and then this number from 12 to 13 and 14 to 15, and then 16 to 17 and 17 to 18 and so on and so forth. Okay, so we've got this year class and this year class and some bigger ones over here. All right, so we saw that our shocking data and the angler catch data matched up almost perfectly. And it did that at Clear Lake, it did that at Brushy Creek Lake, and it did that at Big Creek Lake. And we're like, this is really cool. Now, it didn't match up at Rathbun, and it didn't match up at Spirit Lake, and we don't know why. But it's year one of this experiment, so we are trying to get more data to figure this out. Now, do we need that data from the anglers from Big Creek and Rathbun and those other places? We don't. But if the data from Rathbun and Big Creek and so on matches up really well with the angler catches, then we can make an assumption that if enough fish are caught at McBride or at Lost Grove or at 3 Mile or someplace else, that, Well, if the data from the anglers matches the data from our sampling and we can trust that relationship, then if we look at the angler catch data from 3 Mile, it's missing some fish. We should have a population that looks like X based on what we've stocked, but they're not there. Maybe that's a place we can reallocate these fish. Or maybe 3 Mile's looking really good, but Green Valley isn't. Okay, so we were potentially going to put some advanced fingerlings at Green Valley. Let's reallocate those, or let's reallocate ones from 3 Mile over to Green Valley because the population at 3 Mile looks really good. We're missing, a year class at Green Valley for whatever reason. Or Little River, Rathbun's population looks really great. We can use some of those advanced fingerlings we've been growing all summer. Let's put some of those at Little River to amend the fishery there, or at 3 Mile, or wherever, up at Lost Grove. Places like this. It helps us make smarter and better data-based decisions for the management action of stocking fish. But if we don't have any of that data, we're going to keep doing what we've always done, which may not provide the best fishery for our walleye anglers. And if this works with walleye, there's nothing to say that we can't start trying to do this with other species we stock, like wipers, or if this project works, we can contemplate doing it more across different species. If it doesn't work, then we're back to square one, and we don't have a good way to figure it out otherwise now. So, that's why we're asking the anglers' help, because we want to make the fishing the best it can be for our anglers. But this is one of those places where we hear from angler groups, we want to help you. Okay, this is a place where you could help us. Okay, it really is. And then they say, well, why the $25? Well, this is actually the 4th time we've tried this. We've tried it twice with urban trout, and we didn't charge a fee, and a bunch of people signed up, and nobody reported anything. It's kind of like the anglers told us we need skin in the game to actually do something. If it's free, we don't care. So we changed it from the free iteration to the $25 iteration so that we have prize money to give out at the end. Because the $25 all goes, whatever goes in comes back out. Okay, all the $25 entry fee, 100% of that money plus. I mean, because right now we don't have enough anglers to pay all the fees, all the prizes. And so we're actually paying out more than what we see in entry fees.
Okay, so here's a question, Jeff. It's kind of multi-layered.
That's all right. I think I just answered 17 questions with that last answer.
Sure
right? I carried on for a long time.
Okay, so this one's kind of specific to a lake like Red Rock.
Yep.
And I know there's certain challenges as far as a sampling or netting perspective.
Yep.
And there's challenges as far as an angling perspective. I don't know what your sampling and netting numbers look like for Red Rock, but let's say, okay, your sampling numbers are low, and then in the walleye challenge, not many fish are being reported. Does that mean there's not enough walleyes in Red Rock? How do you tackle that?
So in order to we're not going to make the assumption that there's not enough walleyes in Red Rock if we only have 3 people even say they went fishing there, right? Okay, so now let's say we get a lot more than that. Let's say, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm going to say we've probably got 20 to 30 people fishing Big Creek, just off the top of my head. Now, if we had 20 to 30 people fishing Red Rock and reporting no catches, that would tell us, hey, maybe there's something going on here. Okay, if we've got 20 to 30 people and right now the statewide catch rate is 1 fish per hour, more or less. So if we've got 20 to 30 people and we've got a catch rate that's really low at Red Rock, that's going to tell us either it's a tough place to fish or we don't have enough walleyes there. Okay, and so then we're going to start looking at that. We have in the past done fall gill netting at Saylorville. I can't recall the last time we've done that at Red Rock, but I know we've done it in Saylorville the last 5 years. So we have that opportunity. Maybe we see this data and we say, oh, you know what? We're going to have to spend a night in October, and we need to go down and shock the face of the dam at Red Rock on those rocks and see what we see for walleyes down there. Maybe the time we have to reallocate one night from what we're doing at Big Creek, and maybe we should go down to Red Rock. So that is a management decision that we could contemplate in terms of trying to get some better information. But if we don't have any anglers and they're not reporting anything, we don't have anything to base that on.
Gotcha.
Then we're going to leave that sleeping dog lie. Like, okay, well, we don't know what's going on, but it's not a priority at this time because we don't have any data that tells us it's a priority.
Gotcha. So yeah, it's not like an automatic, oh, nobody's catching walleyes down here, so that means we're going to go and stock a whole bunch there.
Right. And we know that these are flow-through systems. So in reality, what we do is we stock more fish at Saylorville because we know a lot of those are going to end up in Red Rock anyway. So yeah. Why do we want to stock a lot of walleyes in Red Rock for them just to go down to the Des Moines River to Missouri?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
We're not going to do that. We're going to stock walleyes in Saylorville. We've got some little rearing ponds at Saylorville, and I think we do at Red Rock too. We're going to put walleyes in those. We're going to grow them to 2 inches. We're going to get them in there. We're going to stock, when we can, river strain walleyes in the Des Moines River up at Fort Dodge and up at Humboldt and places like that, so that we have more fish in that system. Okay. If we're going to change anything, that's how we're going to change.
Gotcha.
Right. But if we don't have any data, we're not going to make any changes.
Right. Oh, so you just said river strain. So is there a difference between like a lake strain and a river strain?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but there will be an article forthcoming, not in the Iowa Outdoors magazine, but in one of your local publications about fall walleye fishing. And I've been in contact with the author, and the author has been in contact with a number of us from the Iowa DNR. And within our discussions, it's likely that article will focus on our river walleye fisheries for the fall, because those are better and more consistent than our lake walleye fisheries in the fall. And we've done a lot of research over the years looking at where, what broodstock should we be using to stock fish. And we use fish out of the Mississippi River, and we use those river strain Mississippi River walleyes in a few of our ponds down at Rathbun, and then we stock those river acclimated fish into our rivers. Okay, and to the greatest degree that we can. Now that happens a lot more in the eastern half of the state than the western half of the state. In the western half, we generally use Rathbun and Mississippi River, or Rathbun and Spirit Lake walleyes to stock our lakes, but sometimes we have to use those lake strain fish in our river stockings, and they don't perform as well. But that's just a function of the number of fish, the number of hatchery, the amount of hatchery resources, ponds, raceways, etc. Sometimes we just don't have enough places to raise different kinds of fish to fulfill all the needs that we have. The newest hatchery in the state of Iowa is down at Rathbun. It was built in 1975. Okay, so do some quick math. That's almost 50 years old.
Yeah.
So we don't have brand new facilities and nice new shiny things to be providing these fish for our anglers. We have to do with what we have.
Yeah.
And that's what we have. But within those confines, we've been doing a lot of work, and we know, we've learned a ton about our trout fisheries in northeast Iowa. We've learned that the brown trout that became acclimated to French Creek can reproduce successfully on their own without us. So we have stopped stocking any other kinds of brown trout. We started only stocking those French Creek brown trout that are acclimated to these conditions in Iowa, and we've put those in other streams, and they are self-reproducing. Okay, we learned that we've stocked brook trout all over the place. We've been stocking trout for well over 100 years. Okay, the South Pine strain of brook trout are the ones that are most naturally acclimated to Iowa. That's our native trout. Our one native trout species is those South Pine brook trout. We stopped stocking any other brook trout. We only stock South Pine brook trout. We go to the stream, we spawn the fish, we take the eggs, we take them back to the hatchery, and we only put those South Pine fish in our Iowa streams. And now, for the most part, we have self-sustaining brook trout populations and brown trout populations. We don't have to use our hatchery resources anymore for brook trout and brown trout. We only, use those native fish, and they're taking care of themselves. And now most of our hatchery resources are for our put and take rainbow trout. We could go buy trout somewhere, anywhere, but nobody's doing that kind of research. We could. There are people that say, "Why do you even have these hatcheries? You could buy this cheaper from private entities." Nobody's looking at river strain walleyes. Nobody's looking at lake strain walleyes. Which fish perform better? That's our job. Our job is to figure these things out and do things that may not, be. They're very cost effective, and we are very conservative with the resources that the anglers give us. But we also have to spend some of those resources to figure these things out to do the best job that we can do. And nobody else is doing that. We're doing that. We're doing that with the trout. We're doing that with the walleyes. We've been doing that with the muskies. We've been doing research on these things for a long time, decades, to try and figure out which fish are going to work best in our systems, and how do we maintain these things for our anglers and make the fishing opportunities that you have the best that we can make them.
That's pretty awesome.
I went off on a lot of tangents.
Love it though. It's like, I'm telling you guys. So we're just talking offline. I get educated every time we have Jeff on it, and then I was talking to my wife, and she goes, "Man, you get excited." It's like, "Yeah, I'm going back to school, honey.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn a little bit about fishing, water, just all this stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to go learn a little bit more."
Well, when you brought up the river strain walleyes, I was like, "Huh, that's a thing?"
Oh yeah,
I just didn't know that either.
I'm pretty sure the majority of people are like, "Oh, walleye, just whatever. Walleye's a walleye, right?"
No. I mean, they are, but they're not.
Yeah.
And the things that we've learned with those trout, and we're working toward taking those hard-learned lessons, because like I said, we stocked, just postage stamp carbon copy trout for a long time, and then I was like, got to start figuring some of this stuff out better. And now those lessons that we've learned, we're putting those into practice, figuring out more with our walleyes, putting that stuff into practice. I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn to improve our largemouth bass. Texas has been doing this for a long time. You hear about, they are working to eliminate northern strain largemouth bass in Texas and only have Florida strain. Now, we can't do that here, but one of the fisheries professors from Iowa State, Dr. Robert Sommerfeld, he's a world-renowned walleye expert. But he says one of the most heritable traits, that can pass down from generation to generation is that trait of growth and how big can a fish get. So if we start with really good genetics of these brook trout, look, they sustain themselves. If we start with these acclimated genetics for brown trout, they sustain themselves. Okay, what can we be doing better in terms of when we restart? We do a lake restoration. Are we doing the best that we can do in terms of the panfish and the largemouth bass and things like that? And these are questions that we're also working on and trying to figure out. And we will continue to work on that, so that our anglers can have the best experience that they can possibly have, because we have limited resource. We're not 10,000 lakes like Minnesota.
Yeah.
We're not the beautiful trout streams of Montana, but we've got some really cool stuff here, and we're going to do our best to make it the best we can make it for you all.
Yeah. Actually, it calls me back to the Bucket Boys, Jake and Keith.
Yeah.
They're I remember them saying that Iowa is one of the top producers as far as like walleye fry goes, because compared to a state like Minnesota where they have a bunch of natural reproduction while we have to basically stock every walleye that we have.
Yep.
So we got to put in that much more effort to have the fisheries that we have.
That's right. That's right. And we're happy and willing to do so. But like the walleye challenge, we want to do it better. Okay, but we are limited. There's only so many of us employees. There's only so much we can do. So we're trying to be innovative and do something new and different. And I talked to people from Nebraska, Ontario, and South Dakota just today about the walleye challenge, and they're like, this is really cool. We're not sure that we're ready to step off the cliff that you've stepped off yet, but we want to watch and see how this goes. And I'm like, hey, we're giving it a try because we're willing to try something new and different. They've given me enough rope to hang myself on this deal, and maybe I will. Maybe I will. I'm trying really hard for it to be successful. I might fail. But I've failed before, and that's just convinced me that I need to try harder. Now, maybe I need to try harder at something else, but yeah, it's.
But I think that's why this is so important. That the Iowa DNR is helping the fisheries, helping the fishermen. So if you're a walleye fish, a fisherman that truly just targets walleyes, this is beneficial for you guys to join this challenge to get as much information as possible to help your area. Right. If it needs, like Jeff was saying, I think this is it's one of those things that people should realize that you're helping yourself by doing this. That's my goal, is to have people help themselves. And I can't say that what an individual angler experiences and reports on one day is going to change anything. Yeah. But if we can build this thing over time and figure it out, then I'm confident that it's going to help us get better walleye angling in the state of Iowa in the future. For sure. I agree. All right. We're going to go do a quick refill because we were talking offline earlier. We'll talk about crappies and fishing and everything because Jeff here gave me some information earlier offline about crappies. So we'll talk about that. We'll be right back, guys. It's all right. Must be nice to get a brand new boat.
We'll see.
Brand new truck. Brand new
not
boat.
Brand new truck. Well, I don't know if you know, but a tree fell on my truck.
I heard that
at the end of April.
Yes.
So that kind of put a damper on my fishing for a little bit. I didn't have a car for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, we're back. I'm drinking the Brigade. It's like a golden ale.
Yeah, I got the Modern Art. It's a. Oh, hold on.
Is it on? It's on.
Amber Ale, duh.
Yep.
I was thinking that's what it was, and for some reason, it's got to be more than that. But yeah, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm having water.
H2O, can't go wrong. And if you guys are wondering, was he faking it? Yes, I still have gout, so I'm drinking water with every beer. And then on top of that, I've been, like you're saying, that regimen, guys, I'm telling you guys, it's working. This natural regimen, I'm taking these cherry tart drinks and drinking these alkaline waters. It's working.
Yeah. That holistic approach, is that what I call it?
Holistic. That's the word. Jeez, I couldn't think of it. But yes, the holistic approach so far in the past 3 months, it's been working for me. I haven't had a flare up, so
good for you.
And I've been drinking craft beer. I've been eating some beef here and there, like ribeye steaks with the kids the other day, and I was like,
fancy.
Yeah,
very nice.
Man,
hamburgers for the kids, ribeyes for you. That's how it works at our house.
It doesn't work that way. My daughter, we tried. My daughters, so we spoiled them now, and so my oldest daughter will not eat any steak unless it's sous vide and if it's a ribeye. Jeez. I started that. I don't know how I started. I mean, it's good. So I did that, and she ate it. She goes, that's it. If you give her a regular flank steak or you give her even a New York strip, too chewy, Dad. I'm like, huh? It's really good, honey. She goes, nope. She loves the ribeye, and it's got to be sous vide because she loves it, like, cooked proportionally. It's shit, man. I'm telling you. I don't know what I started.
And do you spoil your kids like that, Jeff?
Do I cook well for my kids? Yes. Do my kids get the ribeye all the time? No.
They don't get it all the time. It's just whenever, hey, what do you guys want for dinner? Juicy steak. That's what they call it. They call it juicy steak. And if you bring any other type of steak that's not a ribeye sous vide, they're not going to finish eating it.
You know, this is the second podcast where you talked about eating steak.
Sorry.
And last time you were like, "Oh, I can't eat as much ribeyes anymore." Like, whoa, easy there, buddy. Some of us don't have a choice.
Oh, whatever, dude. Oh man, too funny. But so right before break, to get the refill, we were going to talk about some crocs. But Fishing Kit, he brought up a good question because what we're going to talk about, because wipers.
Yeah.
Before we talk about crappies.
Yeah. Before we stray away too far from the business stuff, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Iowa DNR started a tagging program on wipers at a particular body of water.
Yes.
I just want to know, what, has anything come out of that? What are you seeing? Anything cool to report?
I haven't seen any of the result data yet, so I don't have anything to report on that. We're working on a lot of different stuff. We've put the pit tags in wipers, like we have put pit tags in other species at some lakes. We've also started working on acoustic tags, and we've started putting acoustic tags in walleyes and other species of fish. And so we've got receivers so basically, historically, we would do projects with radio telemetry, where we would put a radio tag in the fish, and then you would go out either every day or every week or whatever and follow those fish. And the radio tag would transmit a signal, and you would go around the lake and try and find that fish.
Yeah, with that like big antenna thing, right?
Yes. So that is what we used to do. Now what we're doing is we're putting these acoustic tags in fish, and we put a receiver on the bottom of the lake. And so when the fish passes by the various receivers in the lake, then it tells us where that fish has been. So rather than us actively going out and doing the radio telemetry, we put the tag in the fish, and the fish swims around, and when it interacts with that receiver, then we learn about where it's been. Now, when you guys were at the Midwest, you had the fella from Lake Erie, and he was talking about this exact thing with all of the receivers that they have in Lake Erie and what they do to study fish movement there. So we are doing that on Big Creek, but we're also doing that like up and down the Des Moines River. So we have some on like bridge pilings. And so we're looking at what is the movement of these fish up and down the river. So we've got some tagged fish in Saylorville. Are they staying in Saylorville? Are they moving past Saylorville? Are they going through Des Moines? Are they, we have them in Red Rock. We have them below Red Rock. What's happening in Red Rock? Are some of those fish passing through the hydroelectric turbine? Are we having positive or negative impacts on our fish populations from that water flowing through the electrical generating turbine versus flowing through the other part of that dam? So there's a lot of different stuff we're doing with that, and so we're working with walleyes, we're working with muskies, we're working with wipers, etc. A variety of species, and doing a lot of different work, trying to figure out what's happening with fish movement in our systems.
Is that normal, or how many other states are doing this type of tracking, I guess you can say, of the species?
So there's, basically, like, I'm not going to say the whole bottom of Lake Erie is carpeted with these things, but there's literally hundreds of these receivers and probably thousands of fish in Lake Erie. And so there's a lot of work going on in the Great Lakes with that.
Okay.
There's work going on in the Dakotas and Minnesota and Iowa with it. So I can't say to the huge extent where all this is happening, but it's really a lot of it's being pioneered out of the Great Lakes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, now that you mentioned the Des Moines River, so in our downtown area, I think they started removal of the dams down there, haven't they?
They're doing some modifications. I don't believe that it's full-blown removal, but it's modifications for this
gotcha.
whitewater kind of thing. Yep.
Gotcha. I guess my question is, was there any coordination with the Iowa DNR with that, or they're just like, well, we're gonna do this.
F it, we're doing this. It is what it is.
Or was there any input from the Iowa DNR in regards to that project?
There were representatives from the Iowa DNR on some of the advisory boards.
Mm-hmm.
We'll leave that at that, or was any of the advisories listened to?
I get a feeling it didn't. The input wasn't taken very far.
Cheers.
There were Iowa DNR representatives on the advisory boards, and they gave some input.
Gotcha.
How do you feel, Kit, about what's going on downtown? So if you guys, because we do have a lot of listeners from out of state, out of country and everything, so there's a big renovation down here in central Iowa, Des Moines River. It's kind of a local spot for locals here that they fish quite often, but how do you feel about the renovation that's going on down there? What do you think?
Well, I don't fish downstream on the Des Moines River very much, so I don't really know what to expect. For me, it's kind of a wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those dams were there for a reason, but now they're coming out for a different reason. So I don't know. I don't really, for me, it's just a wait and see. Like, is it going to make it worse? Will it make it better? I don't know.
I would say that I think one thing that is indisputable is that a lot of fishing has happened at those locations in the past, but there's also a lot of debris and garbage, and that's left behind by a lot of anglers. You're finding a lot of worm containers, fishing line, things like that. I don't think that anglers help themselves out very much by not necessarily being outstanding stewards of natural resources. And if you're going to leave a big mess behind and other people want things cleaned up, then maybe what you want isn't going to happen to the degree that you may want it to, because broadly, you as anglers, not an individual, an individual created some of these littering problems, or a few individuals. It's not everybody. But when people see that, then it's not the best look for our anglers. And I think broadly, all of us need to do as good a job as we can, so that if situations come up, we do want to have our voice heard to the greatest degree that it can. Okay, and I'm not saying that we didn't have our voice heard. I'm just saying it's pretty indisputable that there's been a lot of messes left behind there. And if that's not a good thing. We need to be better stewards than that.
Right. It definitely does put us in a bad light when basically 90% of the people that are there are the ones. That's why there's a whole bunch of trash down there.
Yeah.
And I was actually fishing a creek. I wouldn't say it's super remote, but I probably saw 20 worm containers. I mean, I'm not going to pat myself on the back or anything, but I picked up like 5 or 6 of them. It's not even a big deal to take it out with you. Worm containers weighs nothing. Just throw it in your bucket, especially if you got a bucket already.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The sad thing, I hate to say it, most of the people who probably listen to this aren't those people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. The ones who are leaving those messes, they're not listening to this podcast most likely, dude. It is what it is. But the people who are listening to this podcast,
we need to do more.
Exactly. We can go the extra mile.
Yep. And I'm not the greatest either, but when I was trying to fish crappies yesterday on Big Creek, and I was out of my kayak, and when I was done fishing, it was time to go home. I'm coming past some of the brush piles, and I grabbed 4 bobbers that were floating in the water, and some of them had fishing line attached, and you just grab that and wind it up and throw it in the back of the kayak, and then take care of it when you get home. Like, it's not that hard on your way out. Our friend Hank talks about this all the time. He always carries a grocery bag in his pocket, and he's always hauling trash out with it. And that's, I think that's something that we should do as much as we can.
Right.
There was a when we did the cleanup, I think a couple of years ago. Does the Iowa still provide a mesh bag that you can pick up trash with? I don't know if it was from the Iowa DNR. It was from somewhere I saw. They were just giving it away, and I saw it that they, just to give it to anglers that, wherever you travel or wherever you fish, they just throw this stuff into your little mesh bag that you have and just carry it with you at all times instead of always having a plastic bag.
Yep.
So maybe
just anything like that.
Yeah, just a mesh bag.
A bucket, something.
Or a bucket.
We're all carrying buckets with us when we're going fishing.
But you might have a bucket full of fish. I mean, you don't want to just throw trash in that. I'm just saying.
Your bag, I guess.
Yeah, whatever.
But no, I hear you on that. It's just one of those things. It's a hard argument downtown. When they're trying to clean up the trash, and then all these fishermen are trying no, you don't do that. This is our fishing spot, but then they're like, there's trash everywhere, guys.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yep.
Understandable.
Yeah. And then those people that don't listen to the podcast, they're probably the first ones that would complain oh man, our fishing spot's gone now because all these kayakers, just whatever the kayakers want. I don't know. I think we're kind of poking a beehive.
It's all right. I want to hear what others' thoughts are on it too.
Yeah. But anyways, let's get into fishing, Jeff.
Yeah.
So you went fishing today.
I did go fishing today.
And yesterday in the area.
Yes, I did.
So how did that go for you?
It's pretty slow. It's really slow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So a DNR guy has a slow day at fishing? What? That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't have electricity.
That can't happen.
No, it's like we said earlier. It's May 23rd. The crappies should have been. So I know from our staff that's been out working probably 10 days ago or so, lakes kind of along that I-80 corridor, you could see on the fins of the crappies that they were beat up and they had been on the spawning beds, and they're fighting off. Males are fighting off other males. They're sweeping those nests open, etc. Their fins are going to be eroded. They're going to look a little bit beat up when they're done spawning. As we've gotten north of I-80, in the lakes that I've been fishing the last couple weeks are all north of I-80. Those crappies are not beat up. They haven't spawned yet. I've seen bluegill nests, bluegill staging. Bluegills are getting ready to spawn. I'm not sure that the crappies are going to get a spawn off up here in northern Iowa. I don't know if the weather conditions have just been a little bit goofy. It's just hard to tell. But I was fishing wood in shallow water to the greatest degree that I could, and I was not picking up the crappies where I thought they should be. They were deeper, sometimes around wood, but really scattered. It's one of those things where you really think you ought to be getting into them. Yeah. And it that's not what it was.
That's a great. So this is the thing, because I didn't want to say this earlier, but when we were talking offline earlier, you're like, the crappies were beat up. Because I remember about 2 or 3 years ago, so I caught some crappies right about this time, and I was like, man, his fins are different from the crappies I caught about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Until he just explained it today. So, all right, I'm a novice fisherman, guys. So I was like...
3 years into it, he's still a newbie.
Yes, I'm still a newbie. But, see, that's why we have Jeff on. He actually taught me something like, why was this crappie look like... His fins were just kind of different from the ones I caught literally 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And now it explains it that he's beat up from protecting...
Yep.
The offspring,
and the temperature today was in the 80s, and I just saw a press release from the DNR today. Some of those southern Iowa panfish, the crappies that just got done spawning, the bluegills that are getting ready to spawn. We're seeing some fish kills, just some post-spawning stress-induced fish kills in southern Iowa because of that warm weather, and they're really tired. They've expended a lot of resources from their bodies during that time of spawning, and that is a natural thing. But heightened temperatures right away afterwards do have that kind of impact on some of those species, some of those individuals.
Interesting.
Yeah. We've been having some pretty wild weather, I would say.
It's not been a consistent weather spring. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I was fishing in southern Iowa a couple weeks ago on my brother-in-law's boat, and between the four of us, we probably caught 100 panfish.
Must be nice.
Bluegills, crappies. They were just mixed in all together.
Yep.
And then I fished the big lake near home. I barely caught any crappies at Red Rock. Then I hopped over to Roberts Creek, which dumps into Red Rock.
Yep.
And I probably caught like 30, 40 fish in an hour.
Yep.
So it's kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then since we're pushing up on Memorial Day weekend here, and Jeff kind of talked about it earlier, but it's like I feel like it's kind of late, and if they haven't gone yet, they might not go at all.
Right. They could just reabsorb the eggs.
Yeah.
It's possible. Yeah.
Really?
It just depends on the year, depends on the condition, depends on the weather, temperature swings.
How does that affect the fish if they reabsorb it?
They just they don't spew those resources out. They just reabsorb the eggs. Yeah. And that's things like this happen. Crappies are most successful when they have like recently flooded vegetation to spawn in, and for those fish those little baby fry, etc., to grow up in. A lot of food resources available. One of the reasons why we tend to have inconsistent crappie fisheries, because this kind of thing can happen. They either don't get off a good spawn, or the weather fluctuates too much, and we don't have consistent warm up of the water, etc. Things like this can happen. Bluegills, on the other hand, they'll spawn all summer long. So if things don't hit right now, they'll come back and spawn again in another few weeks, and they'll do that all through the summer.
Really?
So that's why we have much more consistent bluegill fisheries, and we can have, pretty inconsistent crappie fisheries from time to time.
So they spawn all year long, all summer?
All summer.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Are we here in Iowa? Are we in an area where they would spawn multiple times a year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh. Because I know in the South they do that, like they'll spawn multiple times.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if we were.
Yep, that'll happen here. Now,
Okay.
if you're catching bluegills right now, those things are like, the body should look like this.
Yeah.
Because the most resources that they will put into it is this first one of the year, but they will spawn a few more times again over the course of the summer.
Huh. Yeah, I did not know that.
Well, it makes sense now that's why they use like the ponds here for, when you're raising up a brand new pond, you use the bluegills. It's food.
Yeah.
It's food.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the
100%. It's
whole
100%
reason.
food for the largemouth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if they can keep respawning, it's more food.
That's right.
Right.
Yep. That's why they're the
Science.
most effective forage base.
Okay. All right. So let's say you're a guy that he's out there catching bedding fish, whether that's crappies or bluegills, and he catches a male fish versus a female fish, and he thinks, "Oh, I should throw one of these back," but which one would be better for the spawn? Because the females have the eggs, but the males are the ones that stay behind and protect the eggs.
Yep.
So does it matter which one you keep for the sake of the fishery if there was such an argument?
So they spawn multiple times over the course of the year. So the fishery is likely to be maintained regardless.
Yeah.
Okay. If you pull that male off of there, and it's a nice big male like this, there's probably some little bitty male like this that's going to come in and fertilize those eggs, and so the genetics are going to be a little bit altered in that regard. But those genetics are removed if you remove the female.
Right.
But in general, we have extremely productive water. We have good fisheries. It's not going to matter.
Gotcha. 'Cause I know some people will argue, either way.
Yeah.
You got to throw back the males because they protect the beds, and you already talked about it.
Right. And there are those that would argue that, the biggest ones you should throw back. And if that is an ethical decision that you want to make, go ahead and make it. Okay? Doesn't mean that it's the scientifically correct answer for Lake A. Maybe it is the right answer for Lake A, but then in Lake B, maybe it's not the right answer. And in Lake C, it's something completely different. And we've talked about this before. If you look at the Minnesota or Wisconsin, regulations book, they're that thick. It's because they've decided, whether they have the data or not, that we're going to have this regulation here and this regulation here and this regulation here, and we don't want that. So we have the regulations that we have, and we try to have those on a consistent basis so you can harvest your 25 bluegills and crappies and not worry about it.
Gotcha.
Do you guys still get like a bunch of people still complaining about the harvesting?
Always.
Really? Is that one of? I guess you could say, is that the biggest complaint the DNR gets, is the harvesting? Like, why don't you guys set a rule for this?
Yeah, like limits.
Yeah. I guess what else can you complain about? I guess in the Iowa DNR.
Well, it's the same. It's the regulations. Is it the bag limit, or is it the link limit, or whatever? But the deal is this: either the fishing is too good or it's not good enough. Always, right?
Yeah.
If it's too good, then everybody's coming to take all of somebody's fish, and it's not good enough. Well, then you got to do something different. And in reality, most of the fisheries are in pretty good shape, and and sometimes it's just that you're not catching. Like today, when I was fishing, we were nowhere close to any limits, and is that because the fishing's not good enough and the fish population's not good enough? No, it was a hot, bright, shiny, sunny day. The water's clear, and we just didn't catch very many fish.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the population's not there. It just means that they weren't buying what we were selling today.
Yeah. It's fishing, right?
It's fishing.
Yeah.
Have you seen a big increase in social media complaints, or the same? What would you say? I don't know. Have you been checking at all? Have you been?
No, I've taken a backseat to social media. I just post to my fishing page.
Yeah.
And then if people comment and stuff on there, that's about as in depth as I go as far as social media.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of.
Social media has given people an anonymous forum to say things.
Yes.
And it is what it is. I try to use it for positive and for helping folks in education, and I think one of my posts on I don't know if it was 515 or Iowa Walleye Anglers didn't it got I don't think it was maybe they didn't know that I was with the DNR or something like that, but I think it was taken down. And I was like, really? Because I'm just saying, hey, you're walleye anglers. Why don't you join this walleye challenge? And but hey, it is what it is.
I don't think it'd be 515 because I know the guy who runs the page.
Yeah,
and I've gotten some positive outcome from positive responses recently on that. And I just recently joined some of these because I'm trying to get people to do the walleye challenge. I really am, and I'm trying to get good information out there. And I'm happy to answer questions and do whatever, And some people are responding positively, and some people are not responding positively, and whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if you can satisfy some of these people out there.
No, not ever. Yeah. So
it doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
They're gonna find something that they can just nitpick.
Yep.
It's the way it is.
Yep.
So. You know what I'm kind of excited about? So there was a lake restoration project up at Lake Cornelia.
Oh, yes.
So there's some interesting stuff going on there. As far as like the fish stockings go, I know that they were putting some flatheads in there, which kind of surprised me.
Yep.
Some blue cats in there. That's really intriguing to me.
Muskies.
Muskies. I think muskies is kind of a given, but I'm more of a catfish guy.
Okay, so what's the common theme there? What's the common thread amongst all those species?
They get big.
Okay, what else? How do they get big?
They eat a lot of stuff.
They eat a lot of stuff. What's been the problem historically at Lake Cornelia?
Yellow bass.
Little, small yellow bass.
Lot of undersized, forage-sized fish and not very much for predators.
Right.
So one of the things, we stocked the heck out of predators into Big Creek for a long time, trying to control some of the situations that we saw there. and then the shad population crashed and they didn't grow very well. Well, and now there's a lot of shad and there's a lot of fish growth. Okay, so not saying don't somebody go put shad in Cornelia, because that would be a big problem. But what we do have there is we've got a forage base, but we don't have a really good predator population to try and eat that down, because people would like to catch nice yellow bass. They would, but that's not the situation there right now. So how do we deal with that? So we're trying to get enough predators in that system to try and control that overpopulation of yellow bass. And do we know exactly what's going to work in that situation? We don't. Okay, so what are we doing? And we're putting a lot of different kinds of predators in there. There's muskies in there. There's walleyes in there. There's going to be largemouth bass in there. There's these different species of catfish. So we're throwing a lot of resources at that to try and improve the quality of that fishery situation.
And then you guys, well, when I say you guys, I mean like the DNR as in general, but you guys basically killed off the lake, right?
So we did a rotenone treatment, but we did a low dose rotenone treatment. So that means that we didn't put the amount of chemicals in there that will kill everything. And even when we do that, sometimes it just doesn't work. We didn't drain the lake. Normally when we do that, we like to completely drain the lake, and we can do that with a lake that has a dam, right? But this is a natural lake. It's a natural glacial lake, so we can't completely drain that system down. So we can't get isolated. We can't get to a point where we can be effective.
Yeah.
So there's going to be different concentrations of that chemical in that water body regardless. So we did something similar to Black Hawk Lake a number of years ago, and we hoped that we had gotten all the fish, and we tried to get them all, but there's carp in there. Now, did some of them survive the treatment? Maybe, maybe not. We don't think so. But, it is likely that some swam back up. But if you can't, and we had the ability to basically create a siphon so that more water would leave that system, and we really couldn't do that with Lake Cornelia like we could with Black Hawk Lake. So we had to try to find an amenable solution. And so that amenable solution was to do a low-dose treatment. We knew that would kill all the walleyes, but we also knew that would really knock back that yellow bass population.
Yeah.
Okay, it would probably also affect some carp, affect some crappies, etc. But then some fish are going to stay. We wouldn't be able to get them all. Okay, so you knock back that yellow bass population. Then you come back after the chemical has volatilized and is no longer, damaging. So then we put fish back in that system that can additionally control, we hope, those remaining yellow bass. So that's the philosophy. Those are the steps that we take. We've done that in other places before, and we hope that we'll be successful.
Right. So you've already planned out for not all the yellow bass being completely wiped out, basically.
Right. Yeah, that's not. It's we were talking. You asked earlier if I coach, and I do, and I like coaching activities before school starts, because after school starts, maybe I have 50 kids, on my team, and I need 50 for 50 parents to show up when they're supposed to show up, in order for me to be able to go home to my family in time. And 50 out of 50 doesn't happen very often in life. Well, in nature, can we expect 50 for 50 or 100 for 100 or whatever in that fish population with that treatment? We hope so. The science says that it should. But sometimes, there's a little spring coming up, and those fish find that fresh water, and they just hang out there until everything else, goes by the wayside. So we can't guarantee 50 for 50 or whatever in that situation. So, we plan accordingly.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So this is just a question, because I used to live on the south side, growing up, raised. So there's a lake that was maybe about 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago. I don't know. Easter Lake.
Easter Lake, yeah.
I'm just curious how I think it was like 5, 6 years ago. I
Yeah.
think they killed. So how has the fishing been there? Or have you heard? Because a lot of people I've talked to, a lot of people maybe in the past couple years like, we don't fish in it no more. There's nothing but dinks. There's no fish because they killed it. Blah blah blah. But I'm just curious now. It's like 5, 6 years into it now.
Yep.
Has the Iowa DNR? Do you guys know if that restoration? What's the results of it now? Like 5, 6 years now.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Like, the lake was drained down, and then a lot of restoration work was done, and vegetation grew up. So basically, a whole lot of plants and a lot of willow trees, right? Okay, so you've fished stake beds, right? That we install in other lakes. Okay, so basically, the entire bottom of Easter Lake was a stake bed, right? So there's a ton of habitat. Okay. And so we know that we got off some really good bluegill spawns. We know that we got off some really good crappie spawns. We know that there are fish in there getting bigger. We know that there's walleyes in there. We know that there's bass in there. We know that some carp have gotten back in there. But as you approach year 5, 6, 7, 8 after a restoration, that's when the fishing can really be phenomenal. Okay. So I don't have, I can get the data, but I don't remember exactly what our surveys have shown for Easter Lake. But it is a place that I would be fishing if it was me at this juncture. Number one, because there definitely will be more than just dinks in there, but there is so much habitat that you're going to have to, work a little bit to maybe find those fish. Number one. The other reason is the Walleye Challenge. There's prizes to be won from Bass Pro Shops. There's a spinning rod and reel and some other prizes for catching walleyes at Easter Lake, and I'm pretty confident nobody's reported any yet.
Because I talked to a couple of my buddies who, they don't fish a lot, but they're like, there's walleyes in there? They had no idea. I'm like,
we put a rearing pond in there.
Yeah.
We put the fry in the rearing pond. We grow them up till they're 2 inches. They're going to survive. There's like 500,000 walleyes in there. Yeah, Badger Creek, right outside of town. We put 500,000 walleyes in there in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that was pretty recent, right?
Yeah.
How fast do walleyes grow? Like, how big do they grow per?
So I was catching the walleyes I caught at Big Creek today were like 10 inches. So those are fish, and I could tell because the bottom fin was not pointy like you would normally expect, kind of that, and the amount of white. So I could tell that they're from Rathbun Hatchery because they swam in the concrete pond, and so that bottom of that tail fin is a little eroded and flattened and rounded and not as much white. So those are 10 to 11 inch fish that we stocked last fall, and those are fish that we spawned the previous spring. So in nature, those fish are going to grow to between 8 and 10 inches, or between 6 and 9 inches in the first year, those walleyes, and the ones that we have on feed all the time in the hatchery get a little bit bigger. So, yeah. Bluegills can grow up to 4 inches in 1 year. Bass are going to be about 6 or 7 after 1 year.
Yeah. I fished Easter Lake last year, and the water is pretty dang clear there.
Yeah.
So, I know that was part of one of the goals with the project, too. A lot of the watershed stuff that they're doing down there. And I was like, wow.
A lot of ponds in the watershed, slowing that water down as it gets in the lake, some treatment ponds or wetlands above on Yeater Creek. So, yeah, lots of work was done to try and improve things on the south side. We've invested a lot of resources, the Iowa DNR, on the south side of Des Moines. All that work on Easter Lake. You get further south with the work we're doing on Aquabi. We're doing a big restoration on Aquabi and Hooper Lake right now.
Those were a couple of lakes that we actually love to fish a lot. How was that restoration coming along?
It's going really well. Yeah, almost done. I think Hooper's has refilled. I'm not 100% sure. I think we're in the process of refilling Aquabi right now. So, yeah, stocking fish.
Yeah, so that's basically on the tail end of it then,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Huh. And think, what was it last year? I swear somebody caught, like, it was either a tilapia or an Oscar out of Easter Lake. And people were like,
I think it's the
that's a
Oscar.
hybrid. That's a bluegill something hybrid. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not a bluegill hybrid. Because it doesn't look like any bluegill hybrid I've ever seen.
It's not going to survive the winter, but that's not an appropriate thing to do, folks. I mean,
Right.
that's against the law.
Yeah.
Really. I mean,
Yeah.
So if you guys are wondering, most likely this is somebody who had it as a pet
Right.
Yep.
and decided to take it out of their own tank and feeling bad for it, probably, most likely,
Yeah.
decided to just throw it in a local body of water.
Yep.
Do not do that.
Do not do
Yeah.
that.
It's counterproductive. I
Counterproductive.
mean, I'm pretty sure it was probably like some family, like
Yeah.
some little kid, like, oh, this they had it in a little fish bowl, and like, this fish is getting too big. Oh, we got a lake in the back of our house.
It's water, fresh
Throw it
water,
in
just
there.
throw it in there.
Yep.
And I mean, it's a little bit it's out of ignorance. I think a lot of
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
most
I
of
don't
it.
think there's malicious intent.
No, it's not,
But,
but-
it's not helpful for anything.
And most of the people who are
The fish or the water body you're
Yeah.
putting it
Yeah.
into.
and most people who listen to this probably know better, but you can also tell your counterparts if somebody asks you like, hey, what should I do with this fish that I want to get rid of? Do not throw into a public body of water.
Rehome it. That should.
Rehome,
That's
yes.
that's the best option.
Rehome it.
And actually, I saw this post on Facebook like yesterday. I don't know. He was some bass fishing guy or some kind of fishing guy, but he said, "Oh, the bass are really spawning," and then he showed like his transducer, the back of his boat, fish eggs everywhere, and then, like a light went off in my head. That's probably how some of these shads are getting into some of these bodies of water. Like, I mean, I never would have thought shad would just spawn on your boat, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, crazy.
Clean, drain, dry.
Clean, drain, dry. So, is that a law in Iowa?
Yes.
So, when you leave a lake, you got to clean it and dry it off
5 days.
5 days.
Or power wash it.
Definitely before you go to another lake.
Yes.
Okay.
So you guys are wondering, Fishing Kid has to ask this because somebody's got a boat coming on soon, so he's got to follow the laws whenever he drops your boat in, right?
Yeah, and actually, after I went out on my brother-in-law's boat, he was telling my sister, like, oh, I gotta wash the boat and blah blah, and my sister's like, why? Like, what do you gotta wash it for?
You just came out of water, fool.
Yeah, and then he was like, yo, well, because you could transport stuff.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this guy knows.
Yep.
I was surprised.
Hey, shout out to your brother-in-law, man.
Yeah.
He was being responsible.
Yeah.
That's good.
Very good. Glad to hear that. That means that our aquatic invasive species program, the work that we do to educate boaters and anglers is working.
Yeah, so now I know, because when I get my own boat,
Yep.
here before too long,
Two?
I mean, I don't have a set date or anything yet, but couple months, guys, couple months.
Excited.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Can I be the first with you on,
Oh.
maybe?
When that boat comes in, I'm taking that week off of work. So if you're free,
All right.
yeah, if you're free, Jeff, like, hey,
Awesome.
Let's do it.
I mean, you be a guinea pig. Like, I don't know. I'm not good at backing up a boat. I got a tiller, and I've never driven a tiller boat. So if you want to, learn a few things with me, or maybe teach me, or, struggle with me for a little bit.
It'll be fun.
I think I'm going to let you learn a few lessons first.
I'll go with you, man. I'll go with you. Dude. I won't let you hang
Like,
alone.
we'll learn together. We might spend an hour at the boat ramp, but we'll get out there.
We'll learn it. We'll figure it out.
I can do that part of the process for you. If you need some coaching on boat backing skills,
Yeah, if you
I
can
got
coach
your
me
back.
through it, I'm
Yeah.
all for it.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it for you because that doesn't teach you anything.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't teach me anything. And actually, I've been on 2 boats in like the last couple weeks, and I'm like, no, let me do it. Like, I need the practice. Let me get up there.
It's true.
And I might struggle a little bit, but it might take half an hour. But we'll get out there.
It's good for your development.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Nice, nice.
so I'm excited.
So what's up, man? You got anything else for Jeff? Before we call it another refill.
Well, anyways, Jeff, you got anything else for us? If you do not, how can everybody get a hold of you?
jeff.kopaska.dnr.iowa.gov, and that's my email, and my phone number is 515-204-8021. Happy to interact with our anglers at any time. Within reason. But yeah, I'm here to help, and all the fishing survey stuff on our webpage and all the maps and fishing structures, all that stuff. I take care of all that for our anglers and for the department, and just trying to make our anglers as successful as they can be when they're out there fishing.
Yeah, or if you would just want to thank Jeff for what he does, hey, thanks for what you do. Give him a holler.
For sure. And everybody, we'll put all the links, everything in the show notes and everything. And then make sure, like I said, we got about, when does the Walleye Challenge end?
End of June. So we've got a good 5 weeks to go.
So once we release this episode, you got literally a little bit over 4 weeks left. So make sure you guys jump in it. Like I said, we'll put the links to everything on how to contact Jeff if you guys have questions. Make sure you guys jump in the Walleye Challenge. Huge shout out to Firetrucker Brewery for letting us record here again. And then don't forget, guys, you guys come to the tap room here in Ankeny, Iowa. Just let the bartenders here know that you guys listen to Beer Fish Fanatics, BFF. You will actually get $1 off your beer. Your pints. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Hey, it's $1 off, man. Shit. Right. And you guys help us out a little bit by telling them. Then they actually believe that people listen to us.
And along those lines, I know a lot of your folks are here in Des Moines and want to give a shout out to Fleet Farm, because they are huge sponsors of the Walleye Challenge.
Awesome.
The weekly $125 gift cards for the most walleyes caught every week. All of those 9 gift cards are going out from Fleet Farm. Sportsman's Warehouse stepped up the walleyes from Big Creek. We got some prizes coming from Sportsman's Warehouse. We got prizes coming from Johnson Bait and Tackle. We got Bass Pro gave some prizes for Easter Lake and for the Des Moines River. So all that's good stuff. Down at and Hicklin's Water's Edge, they gave the prizes for Sailorville.
Oh.
So all kinds of good stuff there. Malone Motors down in Monroe put up some money for cash prizes down at Red Rock. So a lot of good local businesses stepping up. We've got a couple businesses up in Ames. Jack's is sponsoring the biggest and most walleyes caught in Boonton and Story counties, and Mucky Duck Pub is offering, I think it's $25 or $35 gift cards, and they've got just fantastic fish and chips there, and that's so yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Badass, man. So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Jump into the Walleye Challenge. That's pretty cool of everybody to do that. Don't forget, everybody, go check out Fishing Kit's YouTube. He's almost at 3,000. Nice. Almost. Like literally, I'm telling you guys, most of the people right now, if you listen to this, you're watching this, you tell your significant other or friend or cousin or brother to subscribe to Fishing Kit. He will get to 3,000. So I'm just letting y'all know. So get on that. Don't forget, check out Ma Pop Sports Fishing. I think I'm going to release a new video here soon. I've been editing a little bit here and there. I had a little bit of time, so.
Like fishing video?
Fishing video.
Oh,
holy
okay.
shit! I do fish once in a while, but it's been a while. But stay tuned to us. We'll have another episode. Like I said, we'll be at the Iowa Beer Craft Festival, so make sure you guys follow us there. And then we're gonna probably recap how we did on a trip that we're taking here short.
Yeah, we can recap while we're there. And before we get on too far, so we're gonna have to release this early this month.
Yeah, we will.
So
next week.
It's gonna have to come out on Memorial Day, because our thing was every first Monday of every month. That first Monday is until the 6th.
Yeah.
So that would be after the Iowa Beer Festival.
Stupid calendar. So that's why we're gonna release this episode a little bit earlier.
Nice.
So make sure, like I said, follow us, and then in that Iowa Beer, we'll recap, because we have a fishing trip. Fishing Kit is taking a fishing trip with me, Pop Fishing, and we're gonna catch some fish, hopefully.
Nice. Good luck, boys.
There you guys go. Other than that, man, appreciate everybody listening to this far. Till next time.
All right, see ya.
See ya.